Opinions expressed on this radio program do not necessarily reflect the views of this radio station.
My friends and I always tune into the Todd Levitt Law Show. Todd is entertaining, informative, and always delivers the goods.
Todd might not tell you what you want to hear, but he's going to tell you what you need to hear. And all you got to do is listen.
Hold on, Todd. Don't let go. It's time for the Todd L. Levitt Law Show.
Welcome to the Todd L. Levitt Marijuana Law Podcast. Good morning, good evening, and good night. I'm yours truly, Attorney Todd L. Levitt, broadcasting and podcasting. You know it, folks, from the middle of the mitten in a white, wet, nutrient field with my good friend in the Black Diamond Group Mothership, Craig Russell. The water is wet and the sky is blue, Craig, and we love you. How you doing, Craig?
I'm a little cold. It's become winter again, but that's okay. Other than that, it's the middle of January in Michigan. It's going to be winter. I'm fantastic. How are you, Todd?
I am just stoked. I am happy to be in a mothership. We opened the show today with just literally with a group that I can just not get enough of, and it's called, you ready for this, Craig? You ready?
Yes.
It's called, and I'm probably pronouncing it wrong because it's Mongolian, the Who, and that's the with a capital H and a U. They're a Mongolian, just fantastic, out of this planet rock, just all world group, and that's Wolf Totem featuring, that was Jacoby Shaddix of Papa Roach. I came across the Who, listened to all of their music, subscribe to them on YouTube, and I just can't get enough of it. Now, this song, Wolf Totem, is originally done by the group in their Mongolian traditional language with subtitles on the YouTube channel. I'm telling you right now, I hope they open up for Metallica soon, because this group can fill a stadium, and it's just traditional instruments with traditional phrases from their country. It's amazing, Craig. Did you like it?
Well, yeah, when you said originally you said The Who, and I'm like, oh, we're going to play The Who. I'm thinking, okay, Behind Blue Eyes, or, The Who, not The Who from a different country, Who. I thought you were talking about The Who, Roger Daltrey, Peter Townsend, The Who. but it's not them.
Yeah, but Jacoby, again from Papa Roach,
right,
is doing his version of it with the group in the background, adding vocals, all the instruments. But if you listen to the original without Jacoby, even though we love Jacoby and Papa Roach, it's just certified. So I wanted to just, blare it across planet Earth as we float around, the universe on this rock here. By the way, the days are now getting longer, folks. So
yes,
for everybody out there, we've turned it over, right, Craig? What was that called? Some solstice, right?
It's the winter solstice. On December 21st, we started getting longer days. That's when the sun is farthest away from the Earth, and now it's starting to get closer. We're only going up from here, folks. It's only going to get brighter and only going to be closer to summer before we know it.
Yeah, I'm just stoked about that. We got some huge announcements to make. Next week coming on the show is Denise Porlicella. Denise is coming on the show, and she's got a lot of updates, at least for the state of Michigan and on a federal level in regards to everything and anything cannabis. So definitely looking forward to having Denise back in the mothership. She's been on previous shows, and she is with Cannabis Attorneys of Michigan. That's her law firm, Cannabis Attorneys of Michigan. So she's going to provide us with plenty of updates going into 2020. There's some issues out there, so you definitely want to tune in if you're interested in hemp farming or obtaining licenses. So she's got some great updates, and I don't want to give it away, so we're going to wait for her to come on the show.
Great information, especially if you're in the state of Michigan, but it's a lot of information you can even use even if you're not in the state of Michigan. It's still, a lot of it is good common sense stuff. Of course, you might know Denise from last year. She was at the 420 Canna Hemp Expo, which is taking place this year on 4/18, still 4/20 though, at the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort in Mount Pleasant. I was actually perusing the website, getting a look at some of the things coming up for this year, man. It's going to be a bigger and better than ever this year, isn't it?
It truly is, and if you are somebody out there and you're listening to the show, it doesn't matter where you're from, which country, which state, and you have a product or a service that provides those products and services to the hemp or cannabis industry, be sure to check out the website at 420cannaexpo.com. That's 420cannaexpo.com. Our exhibit space is filling up quick. It's very reasonable, and we're expecting about 5,000 attendees, and it's free to the public. So it's going to be great. And Heidi's actually Heidi Canarum is coming on the show as well here in the next week or two. But hey, Craig,
yes,
how about we start off the show with a complaint? Imagine that.
It wouldn't be a Todd L. Levitt Law Show if we didn't start off with a complaint. What is your complaint, good sir?
I'm driving in the ditch, coming back from court. I actually had court downstate this week for a friend I grew up with in Berkeley, Michigan. So I traveled the ditch, went down to court. I don't practice in Metro Detroit. I no longer practice downstate, but I made a special trip for this one buddy of mine who I went to high school with for his son.
And for those people who don't know what you're talking about, the ditch you call the highway or the freeway the ditch. Never heard anyone else call it that, but you.
I got that term from our great men and women who are our Michigan State troopers. So big shout out to all the troopers out there, all the troops. Please keep an eye out for any and all law enforcement when they have someone pulled over. Be sure to obey all the laws in the state in which you live in or country. Make sure you get in the other lane. Slow down. Keep them safe. They could have your loved ones pulled over, and we definitely want everyone to come home safe. Now,
yes.
With that being said, I got that term from a trooper, and I'm not sure if all the troopers call it a ditch, but I thought it was pretty cool, so I use it. I kind of took it.
Okay.
But I'm on my way back. I pull into a gas station, right?
Right.
I pump the gas. I use a debit card. I'm on my way in to get a little coffee, get a little caffeine, jack me up more than I'm already jacked up as it is, and I hit my truck lock on the truck. I want to lock my truck because, one, I have my attorney bag in there and I have personal belongings, so I want to lock up my truck like any other person would do, right, Craig?
Sure, of course.
So I proceed to walk into the gas station. It has a Dunkin' Donuts. It has just everything in this place. It's in Okemos, Michigan, actually. Great stop right there off the highway.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about. Yep.
I'm at the counter, and this lady is behind me, and she, in a very angry voice, she's saying, excuse me, sir. And I'm thinking she's not talking to me. So she said, she was right in my ear. She goes, excuse me, sir. And I turn around, and she's a short little lady. I have no idea how old she was, respectfully, maybe in her 60s, almost 70. And she goes, are you implying that I was going to break into your truck? And I'm thinking, well, first of all, I'm just trying to get my senses together and think about, what's happening here. And I'm thinking it's a joke because why would I ever accuse anybody of breaking into my truck? I just walked from the pump to the store, and locked my truck. And apparently what had happened is I didn't even look. I was just walking in, hit the lock. This lady, her vehicle was parked behind my truck. She was walking past it at the exact same time that I locked it. And so what she thought was that I felt that she was going to break into my truck, so I intentionally locked it as she was walking by. And I said, ma'am, I go, you're joking, right? She goes, and then she proceeded to tell me what I just said, that as she literally walked by my driver's side door, I locked it as if she was going to break into it. And I mean, I was just, I'm never a loss for words, but I just turned around, ordered my coffee, took it, and just left. I mean, that's the first time it's ever happened to me. But as I got back in the ditch and I was heading back to the mountain town, Mount Pleasant, Michigan, by the way, we have no mountains in Mount Pleasant.
I
was thinking, it makes sense. I mean, she was walking by at the exact time I locked it. I mean, she looked like a nice lady. She could have been, she's probably someone's mother. She's a grandmother. She could be a state employee. Who knows? She was a nice lady. But, I mean, she was way off base with that. But I could see why she thought that.
I mean, that to me, whenever somebody acts like that about something, I always wonder if they maybe are overstating their importance just a little bit. Like they think that the world revolves around them and that everybody else's action is a reaction to them. And to me, that blows my mind. It's like, no, I was locking my door because I was walking in and I don't want anyone to rip me off, not you or anyone else. But you know what I mean? That just seems a little odd. But I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't know if I've ever had that happen to me, but I know I could see that happening.
My other complaint goes out to one of my sister's childhood friends. I ran into her after like 35 years, and she was still upset about a prank we played on her family house there growing up down in Berkeley. And she's still upset about it. It's like, are you kidding me? I'm not even going to say her name just out of privacy and confidentiality, but my sister knows who she is. And apparently, I mean, this had been lost in my memory bank when her and her family went out of town on vacation one year. My boys and I got together, and now I remember this. And I mean, the statute of limitations has told, so I'm okay with this.
Sure.
And we went around, for miles and took all the for sale signs out of other houses and put them in front of her house. So when her family and her came home, there was like 20 different for sale signs in her front yard. And I know, right?
That's good.
I mean, we're not recommending anybody do this. It's theft. Do not take a sign that belongs to somebody else. You're going to be charged with, some form of theft. Of somebody else's personal property and trespassing. But in those days, I mean, come on, really? And she's still upset about that. So I called my sister and said, you know what? I ran into so-and-so for some reason in the middle of nowhere, which was odd to begin with. And she was still upset about the time that we put her parents' house up for sale with 20 different for sale signs.
That's crazy. I thought you said you were going to say you egged the house or you TP'd it or something like that. But those were other houses. Those were other houses on Devil's Night. Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah. See,
you never heard of anybody doing that before?
I think I've heard of this for sale sign. We used to do a thing when I was a kid in around Kalamazoo. We used to spoon people's houses. You take like 1,000 plastic spoons and you stick them in their front yard. It really is an interesting sight. It really is.
That's funny. But the for sale signs, I mean. It was so easy, but it took us a while to collect them. I recall that. But hey, we are a law show, and again, we don't want anybody to break the law, and that is definitely breaking the law and trespassing. Do not do this. In fact, don't even let your kids hear this show this week. We don't want anybody going out doing that. So
what's
watch
funny?
You come home, Craig, tomorrow. You're gonna have like 50 for sale house signs in front of your yard.
That would be fun.
That was a great prank, though. That was one of our favorite pranks.
That is a good one. And you brought it up about Devil's Night. Did you realize something that in other parts of the country they have no idea what Devil's Night is? I think that is purely a Michigan thing, if not a Detroit thing. But other places you go, you say Devil's Night, and they're like, what is that? They have no idea.
Go ahead and explain that.
Devil's Night is the night before Halloween, and that's the night that they usually torch all the abandoned houses in Detroit. At least, I don't know if they do that much anymore, but that's what they used to do.
When we were younger, that never took. Again, I'm going to be 55 here, and you're about 85. So
yeah, something like that.
I graduated high school in '83. Berkeley High, go Bears! And but when we were growing up, I mean, Devil's Night was innocent. You toilet paper somebody's house, or we always bought shaving cream.
Yep.
And then we'd go find one of our local friends, and we would just douse them with shaving cream. And then it got a little out of hand with the egg throwing at people's houses, because eggs on vehicles and garage doors are extremely difficult to remove.
Especially cars now that have that clear coat finish and stuff. Eggs can be bad for them. Back in the olden days, those cars were tanks. You could do whatever. But I'm not saying we did this when we were 16 in an Econoline van with fire extinguishers that were emptied out and filled up with hot water and pumped, with a bike pump, and then they become high pressured squirt guns. We never did that, nor do I recommend anybody doing that. Okay, Craig? So in other words, what you're saying is, if I'm hearing what you're saying you didn't do that, but that's awfully specific.
No, never.
That's awfully specific of a thing that you didn't do. I'm just saying.
Nor will I name any of the individuals who I went to Berkeley High with, and some of the local Catholic schools. When I was going to Berkeley High, I played football in junior high and high school. I was a defensive end and a linebacker. And all our good football players, all my boys, for the most part, got recruited from Royal Oak Shrine back in those days off of Woodward, Brother Rice, and CC. All great schools, don't get me wrong. I mean, fine institutions. But they took all our guys, and our football team was just crap because of it.
But if I'm hearing what you're saying, you're specifically saying you didn't do any of that very specific stuff. You're not saying, even though the statute of limitations has run out, you could name names and you could go ahead and fess up to it and nothing would happen. You're saying you didn't do any of that.
I did nothing. I was never in the Econoline van. I never, obtained these silver high-pressured fire extinguishers, which, by the way, folks, again, we're talking theft. So
don't do it.
Don't ever go out and take from any apartment complexes or anybody's businesses these silver 1978 fire extinguishers. Very dangerous. You're putting someone's life at risk by doing so, Craig, looking back.
But you didn't do it.
Never. Not to mention, if you squirt someone with a high-powered squirt, any object, you're going to take out an eye or injure somebody. So again, 40 years later, looking back in retrospect, don't do any of this stuff. In fact,
don't do
nobody listens to the show. So who's going to hear this? The Amish and maybe a few of our family members,
or the hundreds of thousands of people who download this all across the country.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe they would, but other than that, hey, we got to take a break, Todd. When we come back, we've got some more big announcements coming up and get more law going on. It is the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. We will be right back. Cannabis Attorneys of Michigan is Michigan's premier law firm for cannabis businesses. Denise Policella, Michigan's first marijuana business attorney, founded Cannabis Attorneys of Michigan in 2009 with the goal of representing and protecting the state's cannabis industry. Now with 7 attorneys practicing in 12 specialty areas, including corporate finance, real estate, mergers and acquisitions, and labor and employment law, the firm can take you from startup to licensed to powerhouse. Their expertise and experience in the Michigan cannabis space simply cannot be matched. If you are considering getting a cannabis business license in Michigan, or you already are in the industry and require premier representation, let their nearly 70 years of combined experience take you to the next level. Visit them at cannabisattorneysofmichigan.com or call 517-546-1181 today. Cannabis Attorneys of Michigan. We are the business of marijuana, serving all of Michigan.
If the lions want war, we gon' fight them till the battle ends. If the tigers come running, we gon' fight them till the bloody end.
Welcome back to the Todd L. Levitt Law Show, broadcasting and podcasting from the Black Diamond Group mothership as we count down the days, hours, and minutes to the 420 Canna Hemp Expo. Once again, Craig, taking place where?
At the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, right in the middle of the Lower Peninsula. So if you look at your right palm, that's what people use to make a map of Michigan. And if you go right about where your middle finger starts, it leaves your hand and becomes a finger, that's about where Mount Pleasant is, right in the middle of the mitten, kind of like where we are in the middle of the mitten. And that's where the 420 Canna Hemp Expo, they hosted the first one last year. It was fantastic. It's a 5-diamond resort. It's the biggest casino east of the Mississippi. It's just a fabulous place to hold an expo and an event like this. There's always something going on there. They've just newly remodeled a bunch of it. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be great. They were great hosts last year. All they did was help, and you're going to enjoy it. And on top of it, if you come to the 420 Canna Hemp Expo, how much does it cost to get in, Todd?
It costs absolutely nothing.
Zero.
Other than the time of the day and a little bit of gas to get yourself there.
That's right.
And come Friday night, stay the night, and get up early Saturday and be first in line when we open up the massive exhibit halls. You and I are going to be broadcasting this show from the event. So you get to meet Craig and I in person, as we met a lot of people last year.
Oh, yeah.
This year, they are allowing, on a federal level, which has been approved, CBD and hemp products, oils and shampoos, and all kinds of different products that we did not have last year. The exhibit floor is filling up. If you or somebody you know has a product or a service, be sure to check out the website, and all the information is there. And shoot an email, and someone will get back to you for sure. What's the website, Craig?
It's 420cannaexpo.com. So that's 420 CANNAEXPO.com. I've already had a couple of friends of mine who own CBD businesses who are already interested in it. When I told them that, hey, you know what, you'll be able to display your products and you'll be able to
and sell
your products.
Absolutely.
There all of a sudden everybody is like, beating down the door to get in. So it's going to be.
We're one of the big sponsors. That's why we talk about it so much, because we put a lot into this exhibit. It was our first one. So, hey, Craig, how about some law here on the Law Show?
Well, that sounds like a really smart idea. What's going on in the world of law and marijuana law and law in general?
Well, we don't have to refer to Lato today. Hold on, I got to take a drink every time I mention Lato. Hold on.
Yeah, I just took one too. So.
Yep, that's our new drinking game. Every time we mention Attorney Steve Lato, you have to take a drink. But we have a question from a listener.
Yes, Todd, we do have an email, toddlevittlawshow@gmail.com, if you want to email the show and ask questions. And it doesn't really matter where you're from. I mean, we talk a lot about Michigan marijuana law and things like that, but a lot of these laws apply to other states or even other countries, obviously, that are neighbors to the north in Canada. But this email is from Carly. Carly is in Fresno, California. Hello to Fresno, California. And Carly wants to know if, even though marijuana is federally prohibited, it's still federally on the list of things that are prohibited. Will marijuana companies be able to register federal trademarks even though marijuana is still prohibited federally? It's a great question.
That's a great question. And my question to you, Craig Russell, the muscle, I've been to SoCal. Is Fresno more in NoCal or SoCal?
No.
Northern California or Southern California?
Fresno's more in Central California.
Central California,
it's about 2 hours either distance to San Francisco or Los Angeles. It's like right in the middle of the state.
That's a great question, and that's a perfect question for Denise next week. We have an amazing attorney coming on the show. And the best I can do is direct our listener and our email individual to the USPTO.gov website. That's the United States Patent and Trademark Office.gov website. So anything and everything that you would like to know in regards to trademark, the basics, do I need a U.S. licensed attorney? What's the trademark fee? What's a timeline if I'm submitting an application? What about resources that are free in your state from the federal government? Folks, check out the USPTO.gov website. I mean, just off the top of my noggin, my first train of thought, I'm not a trademark patent lawyer, nor would I ever attempt to practice in those areas. I'm a criminal defense licensed restoration lawyer, cannabis expert here. But you can search trademarks. So let's say, for instance, you think you want to register a trademark. They have a search engine on the government site called TESS. TESS, and that stands for Trademark Electronic Search System.
Okay.
And you can put, it's a great system. It's amazing, actually. So not only can you search a potential trademark, but you can also do some patent searches, which is really interesting. Now, here's something for the general public, and I'll get to try to answer the question in a moment. If you pick up any item, so if you're at home at a restaurant, pick up any food item, whether you're eating, you have a bottle of ketchup, mustard, a breakfast cereal box, look next to the name on a symbol or a word, and you'll see a circle. You'll see an R with a circle around it.
Right.
That indicates that symbol or that mark is a registered trademark.
Correct.
From that company. And if you are someone out there that is interested in starting a business, Craig, whether it's in the service industry or otherwise, the first thing you want to do is make sure, one, that you speak to a trademark attorney. But if you don't have the funds to do so, you can simply do a Google search. So whatever your idea is, let's say you're going to reinvent toothpicks and you have a name of a new toothpick. I mean, I'm just using some random thought here.
Sure.
Go on Google and put it in a search engine. And if a company comes up and it's similar to the name that you came up with, then there could be a likelihood of confusion. That's the standard that's used. Will it create a likelihood of confusion? So you definitely you want to move on from that name, okay? Or you basically want to move on from that name. So you can also go to GoDaddy.com, put the name in there. So if you have, a name for a business, whatever it's for, you want to do your due diligence. You went to Google. Now you're going to GoDaddy, go onto Facebook, look at all the social media sites. Is there any business out there that is similar to the one you're trying to launch and has the name that is similar to yours that is promoting a service or a good? And if so, then you're going to create a likelihood of confusion. And again, there is something called first in time. So just because somebody else out there has a business or a symbol or something that is similar to yours and they haven't registered as a federal trademark, does that mean if you're the first one, across the finish line and you register yours first, will you be able to then send them a letter to cease and desist? I don't know. I'm not a trademark attorney. But the last thing you want to do is spend all this money investing, your family fortune. You get a loan on your mortgage, or you're borrowing money from friends or banks, and you launch your brand only later to find out that somebody else beat you to it. Now they're going to sue you. They're going to take all your revenue, all your assets, and you're going to have to cease and desist. So you definitely want to do your due diligence and make sure you're not infringing upon anybody's trademark rights out there, Craig.
And I'll tell you this much. That is, we always talk about sometimes the internet can be bad, social media, et cetera, et cetera. Here's where the internet is good. Because think about 30 or 40 years ago, before there was the internet, how would you do that? If you're like, hey, I want to start a business and I'm going to call it Burger King. Well, and if you didn't know anything about Burger King or any other name like that, you have to go searching for it. How would you do that without the internet? Nowadays, the internet makes that kind of stuff so easy. It really does.
Definitely, yeah. And once you get a mark, you have a registered trademark. What I would suggest you do, because I do know a little bit about this, I've dabbled in trademarks, for my own ideas and businesses. So if you come up with an idea and you've done your due diligence and you're in a process of registering your trademark, I was educated by other trademark attorneys to put beneath the symbol or the words that I'm trying to trademark a TM with a circle around it, which then gives constructive notice to the world that I'm in the process of registering that trademark.
Yep.
Now, again, folks, don't rely upon anything I'm telling you. Be sure to hire a patent trademark attorney. They are specialists. A patent applies to something that has a design that actually, you're engineering something or you're back engineering something and like an engine or a part, it actually functions. It's a functioning, something that functions. That's a patent, as opposed to a trademark is something like a symbol or a word or a phrase.
A name of a business.
Yeah, you can have a symbol and a name, and you could trademark both of those. You see, like the Nike swoosh, that's a trademark.
Yep.
The Amazon A to Z with the arrow.
Yep.
But look at your products in your house or restaurant, and look at the circle with the R around it. It's on every single item and logo. But just do your due diligence. But the USPTO, it talks about protecting trademarks, because once you have a mark, you're required to protect that mark by continuously searching the internet to make sure that other people are not using it. Now, there's all kinds of counterfeit, products out there. That's been going on for, generations. So, you could be on the streets of New York or Chicago or any big city around the world or smaller city, or even online, and you think you're purchasing one of the brand name items, and you come to find out that you're not. It's a counterfeit, but everything about it looks the same. I mean, these companies cannot possibly track down every single counterfeit item that is used in their trademark. It's impossible.
And again, that's where the internet comes up, because they've got internet bots and mining programs that look for that stuff, look for illegal uses of their brand or their trademarks. And will serve notice on that. I will say this much. We've sort of talked a little bit about Carly's question, Carly from Fresno, California, who wanted to know about federal prohibition and registered marijuana trademarks. But unfortunately, we have to take a break. So when we come back, then we will answer Carly's question. We've now got a little bit of a knowledge of trademark law. We'll now answer her question when we come back on the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. Cannabis Attorneys of Michigan is Michigan's premier law firm for cannabis businesses. Denise Policella, Michigan's first marijuana business attorney, founded Cannabis Attorneys of Michigan in 2009 with the goal of representing and protecting the state's cannabis industry. Now with 7 attorneys practicing in 12 specialty areas, including corporate finance, real estate, mergers and acquisitions, and labor and employment law, the firm can take you from startup to licensed to powerhouse. Their expertise and experience in the Michigan cannabis space simply cannot be matched. If you are considering getting a cannabis business license in Michigan, or you already are in the industry and require premier representation, let their nearly 70 years of combined experience take you to the next level. Visit them at cannabisattorneysofmichigan.com or call 517-546-1181 today. Cannabis Attorneys of Michigan. We are the business of marijuana, serving all of Michigan.
Welcome back to the Todd L. Levitt Law Show, talking about pranks, taking us back to our childhood in segment 1, Craig. And
yep.
I'm just saying, I knew of those things, but I did take place in the putting all the for sale signs in my sister's friend's front yard when they were on vacation, so I'll acknowledge that for sure.
You know, we were talking about this off the air. I wonder what people do for pranks in other countries. I wonder what, like if you're in, I don't know, Canada, I wonder if it's any of the same, if they do toilet papering or egging houses or stuff like that. But what are they doing, like, Brazil? or Peru or in anywhere, name a place, Luxembourg, wherever. Wonder what they do for pranks there.
As long as we don't call to action anybody to do anything illegal, we are not recommending anybody go out and do anything where you take personal property that belongs to someone or even destroy someone's property. This was the 1970s. Times have changed. And once again, we came back strong with the WHO, that is the HU, unbelievable group that I came across from Mongolia, using traditional Mongolian instruments and phrases, and the sound is just so unique. And Jacoby from Papa Roach did his own version of their song. But definitely check out the WHO on YouTube, their original version of that wolf song. It's unbelievable, Craig.
Now, when you're talking Mongolia, like BD's Mongolian barbecue, that kind of Mongolia?
No, the country Mongolia.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what inspired me.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
What a great country. The people, their history, their culture. They are known as some of the best men and women in riding horses and training horses, and it just goes back, hundreds of years. But hey, Craig, should we go back to the tips for protecting cannabis trademarks from our email listener there?
Yeah, that was Carly from Fresno, California, and she wanted to know we were talking about trademark law type stuff, and again, as Todd said, not a trademark lawyer, so don't take really anything he says to heart, but it's a good place to start a conversation. She wanted to know if, since marijuana is federally prohibited, can a marijuana company get a licensed trademark for a name of a company or a name of a brand, even though the product that they are attempting to sell is federally prohibited? What say you, Todd Levitt?
Well, a great question. And in most industries, as we said in the last segment, federal trademark registration is seen as an attractive form of protection, Craig.
Sure.
Because what happens is federal registration converts what would normally be localized common law trademark rights into national rights, which will cover all 50 states. And additionally, I would say that a federal registration can be used as a basis to easily register your trademark worldwide. Believe it or not, you could register a mark in the state in which you live in, and your state has applications to do so. You can register a trademark or service mark on a federal level, in which we just talked about. You could also do it worldwide, but the application process, involves either registering a mark based upon some kind of pre-existing use or an intent to use basis. That's another trademark terminology lawyers use, like an intent to use basis, which kind of acts like a placeholder, reserving the mark for up to 3 years or more with maintenance fees. And be sure to check out all this information on the USPTO website. But in order to register a description of the goods or services sold, there is something on the website also. What is the good or service intended? What is each class? There's like these classes. Under each class, there must be made an acceptable proof of use. You got to use photos and screenshots of the mark as used in commerce. So there's all kinds of different things that you need to be aware of. Again, I recommend you talk to a trademark patent attorney. Patent and trademarks are completely two different things, but what we're talking about here is whether or not, if you are an individual or a corporation and you want to register something that has to do with cannabis industry, again, with limited knowledge, I would just say we all know, and we talk about it each and every week, the federal government still has marijuana as a controlled substance under the Controlled Substance Act. And that's a big problem there. So, there are businesses out there that I know of that have tried to register marks. In doing so, they have left out certain characteristics of, and you don't want to ever mislead any application or anything at state or federal level. I mean, if you're signing an application and you're swearing to the truth of the contents therein, you want to make sure that you're being honest and truthful. But again, if you're going to register something or attempt to, my understanding is, and it has anything to do with a cannabis-related business, and the question comes up about the suggested use of the goods or services, the likelihood is you're going to get denied, because it's still illegal under the Controlled Substance Act. I could be completely wrong, Craig. I'm just saying, I would say if somebody called my office, I would think it's still illegal under the Controlled Substance Act, and you're going to have a hard time registering that mark at the federal level for sure.
But what about at the state level? Because
good question. Great question.
Because for the most part, interstate commerce of marijuana is going to still be illegal. So it's not like you're going to be starting a business in Michigan and wanting to sell product to someone in Maine. you have to only really sell it in Michigan. So
that's a great question.
Why would you need a federal trademark if you're only going to sell the product in Michigan? You only really want to protect it here.
And I would think state-based trademark registration is what you're recommending, a viable alternative to the hurdles that the federal government places on federal trademark registration, especially for, plant-touching cannabis businesses, Craig, that cannot seek that federal registration for their services and goods because of the, the Controlled Substance Act. But I do know for a fact that registration of cannabis-related trademarks is allowed in most states where cannabis is legally recreational. And also where medical use is permitted. Again, before you rely upon anything I'm telling you, you definitely want to check with a trademark lawyer or just Google it in your state. But in these states, trademark owners, may sue for infringement possibly, but not in federal court, only under state law. So if you are somebody in one of the amazing 11 states, Illinois being the 11th state as we talked about last week, and you're registering one of your cannabis trademarks on a state level and allowed to do so, you will not be able to enforce that on a federal level. More than likely, you'll just have to keep it at the state level in order to do so. And then again, I have limited knowledge in this area. It may sound like to the listeners I have a lot of knowledge. I have enough, but that's about it right there, Craig.
You know just enough to be dangerous. How about that?
That's okay. You want to talk about like drunk driving cases or license restoration? I could talk about that all day.
You can talk.
But I think I've got enough knowledge. But again, and I've said this over and over and over. I mean, basically, how I would sum everything up: cannabis-based, businesses should, consider selling their services and goods under their chosen trademarks as broadly and as early as possible to establish common law rights. There's something called common law. Common law is the law that we brought over from, good old England when this country was our founders were developing the Constitution and whatnot. Common law. You always hear about common law marriage, but you definitely want to establish as early as possible your common law rights. And as well as seeking federal registration, for any trademark uses that are legal under the Controlled Substance Act. There could be and probably are federal registration trademarks and uses that are legal under the Controlled Substances Act. But I would definitely recommend talking to an attorney and check out the state level to seek state registration where it's legal to do so. Again, that's about as much as I can tell you on all that level.
And it makes a lot of sense. I mean, again, you just want to make sure. Do your due diligence. Obviously, if you have any questions, you can always call Todd's office, 989-772-6000. If he can't answer your questions, he can certainly point you into the direction. I'm sure you know at least one or two good trademark patent lawyers who can help out in this kind of situation, and you'll be happy to pass them along them and their information. I know, Carly, you're not in Michigan, you're in California, but hopefully this kind of answers your question. Obviously, I would think, you protect your trademark in the state where you're at, where you're doing business. That's going to probably be sufficient.
First in time, you hear that quite often. So let's say you're somebody out there and you just want to protect a trademark. Make sure you're first in time.
Yep.
Make sure you do all the searches. Make sure you get all the social media locked in. And it only costs like $8 to $11 to go on to GoDaddy.com and reserve a name. There's people out there who bought when the .coms first took off and .coms were being registered. The story, Craig.
Yep.
People and individuals went out there and purchased these names of these corporations and basically held them hostage until the corporations would pay them for the .com. And I own dozens and dozens of names. I just come up with an idea and I'll buy anything and everything I can to protect that .com. I've had people over the years actually try to get a hold of me through GoDaddy to purchase some of the names that I own, but they weren't offering enough, so I wouldn't sell them. But there's actually an auction site on GoDaddy where people just buy and sell these domain names. It's a big business.
Well, and nowadays there's so many of these other names. It used to be .com, .org, .net, but now there's .tv, there's .everything. I bet you there's probably .weed somewhere or cannabis or something like that.
But the .com is still the most prevalent on the search engines.
Sure
it's still the most recognizable. And a lot of these companies, you bring up a great point, Craig. A lot of these companies try to sell you .everything. And other than .com and .net and .gov or .org, I'm not buying any other domain names. But if you have an idea for something, go on to one of these services, whether it's GoDaddy or one of the other domain sites.
Or just Google. Or Google.
But buy up that name.
Oh, yeah.
It starts with owning the name, but do your search, as Craig said, on Google first. Go on Facebook. Go on all these social media sites. Because if you're gonna launch a business or a name or an idea, you want to do so and be able to launch it on all different social media platforms, and you want to market it, and you want to be able for people to search it. But again, the likelihood of confusion is a standard that applies in determining whether somebody is infringing on somebody's rights. So it's interesting, Craig. Like, Craig, you mentioned it during break. What if they're a McDonald's restaurant? Okay, everybody recognizes the arches.
Yep,
correct?
The golden arches. Yep.
And you brought up the point, well, what if there was McDonald's towing? Well, one, McDonald's restaurant and McDonald's towing, there's no likelihood of confusion there. I mean, nobody's going to go to someone's tow yard and purchase, a cheeseburger, a fry, and a drink.
Yeah, you wouldn't think. You wouldn't
unless
think.
they're having a picnic for charity, giving it away. But if McDonald's towing then used the McDonald's restaurant's arches, then they're going to have a major problem. And they're going to hear from McDonald's big law firm trademark attorney. I can tell you that right now. Here's another thing. I know we have to go to break, but colleges and universities have attorneys that work as corporate counsel or however they're titled. And their job, amongst other things, is to always protect the mark of the university in which they work for. You can just imagine the abuse and how students, alumni, and just people around the world abuse those marks of those big universities. I mean, we could even have a university attorney on. I have a friend of mine, Mary Roy. I actually grew up with Mary in Royal Oak, Berkeley area. She's an outstanding attorney, and she used to be with Central Michigan University, and she probably still is. It would be great to have Mary on the show to talk about that sometime, Craig.
Oh, yeah, that's a big deal all around. Colleges trying to protect their trademarks. You see sweatshirts with logos and things. You think, it's a state university, it's a public university. We can use their trademark. Well, no, you can't. You really can't. This was great talk about all this trademark stuff and everything. We do have to take a break and finish up the show. We'll be back with the last segment of the Todd L. Levitt Law Show when we come right back. Cannabis Attorneys of Michigan is Michigan's premier law firm for cannabis businesses. Denise Policella, Michigan's first marijuana business attorney, founded Cannabis Attorneys of Michigan in 2009 with the goal of representing and protecting the state's cannabis industry. Now with 7 attorneys practicing in 12 specialty areas, including corporate finance, real estate, mergers and acquisitions, and labor and employment law, the firm can take you from startup to licensed to powerhouse. Their expertise and experience in the Michigan cannabis space simply cannot be matched. If you are considering getting a cannabis business license in Michigan, or you already are in the industry and require premier representation, let their nearly 70 years of combined experience take you to the next level. Visit them at cannabisattorneysofmichigan.com or call 517-546-1181 today. Cannabis Attorneys of Michigan. We are the business of marijuana, serving all of Michigan.
If the lions want war, we gon' fight them till the battle ends. If the tigers come running, we gon' fight them till the bloody end.
welcome back to the Todd L. Levitt special broadcast talking about, amongst other things, trademark law on the show, Craig, of all things.
And pranks. And
childhood pranks in segment 1. So if you missed any portion of the show, be sure to check us out on any and every podcast platform. We're just, turning it and burning it. Coming back strong once again with The Who. That's H-U, my all-time new favorite, just band extraordinaire from the great country of Mongolia. And that's with Jacoby from Papa Roach, that version. But the original version is on YouTube. And definitely subscribe to The Who. That's H-U, Craig.
We were talking about trademark laws, and we were talking about things having to do with cannabis businesses and trademarks. A perfect person to talk about this is going to be Denise Policello, who will be back on the show with Cannabis Attorneys of Michigan. She'll be on the show next week. We'll have to ask her these questions. We haven't really had a whole lot of Steve Lato questions. Lato, take a drink.
Take a drink, Lato. Yep, take a drink.
Not a whole lot of Steve Lato questions. Also, yes, also.
Another drink. Every time we mention Lato, we have to take a drink, Craig. It's early in the morning here. Come on.
I know.
Also, a big shout out to all the good folks in the village of Barreton in Mecosta County there along M66, Route 66. So big shout out to Barreton, the home of the Lilac Festival. If you like lilacs, there's no bigger and better festival than in the village of Barreton. So be sure to check out all the local businesses and all the folks in the village right there in Mecosta County, right in the middle of the mitten. So, Craig, we'll definitely be at the Lilac Festival. I'm not really sure what a lilac looks like. I know what a dandelion is, but, if I could do one prank as a kid, I would have dandelions, the yellow and the version that just blows in the wind all over someone's lawn because they're annoying. And I don't even know how to get rid of them. I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason. How do you get rid of dandelions?
You mow the grass.
If you mow the grass, it's going to cause the white ones to just go airborne, and they're going to create more of them.
That's just the wind will just have to take him, man. That's
big hair. We need big hair. He's the king of mowing lawns.
Yes, he is.
Big hair.
Yes, he is. I bet you Big Hair's house gets pranked all the time. Something tells me. Maybe I'm wrong.
Big Hair is always moving, so he doesn't stay in one city or township or town for too long a period of time. So he's always on the move. Yeah, and we're actually going snowboarding this afternoon.
Oh wow! Well, that'll be a lot of fun. You enjoy.
Yeah, we're going to shred the gnar on a snowboard. Big Hair looks like Santa Claus, doesn't he, with that white beard?
Santa Claus and Bob Seger all wrapped up in one.
He really does.
That's Big Hair.
But Craig, I'm looking forward to Denise coming on the show. Cannabis Attorneys of Michigan. We got some great guests coming up. The Dude Grow Show guys are coming on. Scotty Real and the Dude will be here coming up here in the next month or two. Lato will always be back on.
Yep.
We got a lot of guests coming on the show.
Matt Hatala, our hemp guru, will be back on as well. Heidi
Matt. Great guy.
Heidi from mycompassion.org will be back on as well, talking about the 420 Canna Hemp Expo. A lot of stuff coming up on the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. Now would be the time to download the podcast and jump on the bandwagon and get ready for it. Todd, I hate to break the news to you, but it is time to go shred the gnar. The show is over. We got to go.
Craig, before we do so, I got to protect all my trademarks, and I'm going to listen to some. I'm going to just turn it and burn it and destroy it. I hope everybody liked an introduction to that just outstanding new group, The Who, H-U. With Jacoby Shaddix from Papa Roach. Love Papa Roach. But, Craig, as you said, we got to go. What are you doing today, Craig?
I'm watching some football, man. Football playoffs are on today. That's what I'm doing.
Come on, Craig.
Come on, Todd. Come on, Randy Moss.
Come on, man. We're not here for a long time. What are we, Craig? We're here for a
good time.
Good time. Take us out with some Jacoby and The Who. See you next week with Denise.
Them
Law Show, brought to you by Chad Malley Well Drilling of Rosebush, Clark Modular Homes, your most experienced and trusted builder in Mount Pleasant, Clear Vision Windows, Siding, Roofing, and Attic Installation of Midland, Mackinac Properties, and Northern Michigan Vacation Rentals, buying, selling, and renting properties in the Straits of Mackinac region since 1998. Tim's Collision Plus in Roscommon, Harrison Power Sports, Central Michigan's fastest growing full-line Arctic Cat dealer, and Dr. Robert Townsend and Denali Healthcare for your alternative healthcare needs.
Opinions expressed on this radio program do not necessarily reflect the views of this radio station.